All right, everybody, welcome into the Jump to Start Racing podcast. My name is Wellington. I'm here with two of my closest friends. Ruben's wearing that hat. Say hello.
What's going on, guys?
Yhancy, say hi.
Hi.
And before we get started, I don't want to forget this time.
There you go.
Before we get started, I want to make sure.
Back.
Yes,
He's back. He's back.
Wait.
Oh, my bad.
I want to make sure to plug us in the sense that make sure to follow us, subscribe, drop a review on all podcast platforms. I have them ready here. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, and Stitcher. We're also on YouTube. If you can see us, hello. We are at Jump to Start F1 on Twitter and at Jump to Start F1 on Instagram. I'm going to say it again because Yhancy and Ruben are going to make me do it. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, Stitcher, and YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe, the bell, 5-star review, etc. Let's jump right into it.
The more he does it, the better, bro.
Sure,
Yeah,
that was almost perfect,
it's all practice. Practice.
Well, bro.
Practice.
So proud of you.
How you guys doing? How was your weekend?
It was awesome, bro.
Hell yeah.
Had a good weekend?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a good race.
It was a good cap to the weekend yesterday.
Yes.
It was good, nice, warm weather. Reminded me of being down in Miami, boys.
Welcome to Miami.
Bienvenido a Miami.
I guess Yhancy boy is playing ticket already.
Done and dusted, bro. I got a place to stay and everything.
Damn.
So,
Been waiting for this for a while.
yes, sir. We talked about it a little bit last week. F1, well, the city of Miami Gardens was doing a vote to see if they want to hold the F1 race in 2022. It passed. And now Miami is officially on the schedule for 2022, next racing season.
And the best part? 10 years.
10 years of racing
10-year
in Miami.
contract.
Yes, you jump into it. What do you think?
Can you see? I'm obviously excited that I can't even talk. Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome because it's the second race that we get in the States, which is great for us U.S. fans.
Yes.
It's a great way for F1 to grow here in the United States, which this market is basically wide open. It's a world-class city, Miami. We here on the East Coast obviously are very familiar with Miami because that's basically our vacation spot when we want to go on vacation for a quick trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how much fun it is. We know the people are very cool down there. It's a fun city. There's a lot of activities, the beach, jet skiing, bars, restaurants, you name it, culture. It's awesome. It's a big melting pot. It's a lot of fun. The venue, the track looks like it's going to be
I'm going to bring it up.
amazing.
Right here. Boom. Right.
All centered around my face right now. All centered
It's the Hard
around
Rock
the Hard Rock Stadium where
Yep.
the Miami Dolphins play. And we were talking about it yesterday. I wonder where they're going to put like the festival and everything
That would
around
be
it.
nice.
But the track looks like, hopefully they make it wide enough,
Yeah.
Coda, but it looks like you're going to have, a long straight with heavy braking zones. So
Yeah.
you're going to have opportunity. You're going to have an opportunity to overtake. You have the S's. You have, a turkey style turn there, that big round turn
Right.
at the end there. So looks like a lot of fun, but just the atmosphere. Like we go to Montreal when
The
we
energy.
can, and F1 basically takes over the city. You can feel that energy.
Yes.
And we're hoping that it's going to be the same way in Miami. And Miami's a lot of fun, man. Can't wait. So anybody who can travel to Miami for the Grand Prix, make sure you make it there. It's going to be so much fun.
Ruben, what do you think?
Well, I'm glad it's finally sealed and it's happening for 10 years. That was the number. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So I guess for the next 10 years, I'm going to be going to Miami. I want to say thank you to F1 because I've never been to Miami. By the way.
Never? What?
I've never been to Miami.
Oh,
Wow.
my God.
So F1 is going to force me to go to Miami, and can't wait. So maybe, every F1 weekend they have a series of events going on and stuff like that. But could you imagine that in the actual stadium is where the concerts for that weekend is held?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be so good.
Yeah,
So-
I never even thought of that.
So, the same thing you said, the festivals, or maybe the
Yeah.
fan zone is inside the stadium and the actual, dude.
And I think
There's so much things here.
one of the promoters was saying that from the top deck of the stadium,
Mhm.
you can see the entire track. So I don't know if they're going to open that up to fans.
Jeez.
It's just like there's so much to look forward to. I can't wait.
So
you
then-
said it, right? You said it has the beach, it has like all kinds of bars and clubs and etc. This is like the French Riviera of the United States, right? This is like the Monaco of US.
Our Monaco now?
I feel like you'll have
That's safe to say.
the high class status people down in like the Fountain Blue and stuff like that. But what I really want to see is I want to see Martin Brundle, right? I want to see his commentary when he goes from Denny's over to he's gonna get himself a Moons Over Miami and then go straight to the track.
Yes. By the way,
Where's Denny's?
Everywhere in Florida.
Gotcha.
everywhere in Florida, we don't get that up here.
No,
But
no.
that is a staple when we travel down to Florida. So, and Moons Over Miami.
Oh
is
my
the,
God.
But other than the track itself, like after, when you look at the picture, after turn 7 and 8, it looks like it's going to be completely flat out all the way till you get to 11, which is like,
Bring that back up.
and that little loop like that, completely flat out, the car is they're going to take,
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
yeah.
It's a heavy braking zone right at both of those long straights. That
So what you're
When
talking about the bottom loop on
that
the,
bottom loop is gonna be flat out.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so you calling that a straight?
I mean, it
It's
kind of
essentially
is
straight. It's like in Baku. It's one big
Yeah,
long
exactly.
straight with a little kink.
Yep.
Exactly, and then
Where I
when you
always
have
crash.
you're gonna have to brake hard in there, then go into that big like turkey style
Yep, yep, yep.
turn. That's gonna be fun, man.
I don't know.
Turkey.
It's gonna be cool.
Turkey.
We'll see. I'm not excited about the track layout itself.
What was
Why?
it that you didn't like about it?
I mean, look at the thing, right? It's just straight, essentially a straight with a kink, loop around another straight, and then essentially another straight with a kink. It's just, to me, it's not.
Not very technical.
It's not very technical. It's not going to showcase. If it's me, right? If I'm in Florida, if I don't know anything, if I know about racing and I don't know F1, right? To me, this is just like, okay, they're just going in a loop. It's not going to showcase how unbelievable these cars are with their aerodynamics, the chassis. Well, I mean, granted, we haven't seen the actual track itself, right?
Mhm.
But it doesn't look like it'll showcase how unbelievably good and different F1 cars are from Indy cars or NASCAR or anything like that.
Yeah, but you also have to take into account what type of racing Americans like. So, for example, the big racing series here are obviously NASCAR,
Yeah.
which is mostly oval racing. You have IndyCar, which is not very much dependent on downforce of the cars, but so they do run closer together. But there's within that series, you have road tracks and you have oval racing. We want to see cars actually racing. So this is a type of track, very much like Coda, where it does lend itself. It's wide enough so you can race each other, and then with the new regulations coming in where you can follow each other, it sets up for good racing. We want to see good racing. We want to see cars, go wheel to wheel. We don't necessarily here in the United States. In my view, is obviously the technicalities are cool and we're fans of it, but we want to see cars racing each other. So I
Right.
think it'll lend itself
But
to that.
from what the track originally looked like,
This is much different and much better.
When it was supposed to go around the American airline, that was
something about, it was pretty much like a long straight one way, then
Yeah,
another
no,
long straight
that
goes
was-
back.
that was
when it was
terrible.
centered around my Biscayne Bay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
But-
terrible. This one I think is going to be a lot better.
I got one now, like, it's not even we're not even supposed, but since it's a new track coming up, what does this track look like to you?
Oh my God. Let's see. Oh.
Just like that out of the blue, nothing,
If you turn it over,
however.
like 180 degrees from what is on the screen right now,
Yeah.
looks like a Florida alligator.
Like a Florida Gator, like
Yeah,
the logo.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Like if you turn it upside down,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like.
All right.
Yeah, like a
Let's move on. We actually have a race to cover here, but yo, I'm excited. I can't wait. Another piece of news that we were talking about right before this is Aston Martin wants changes to the aero rules so that there could be a better the way they say it is that they want more competition between teams that have a high rake and a low rake concept to their cars. Yes, you correct me if I'm wrong. They are low rake. Their car currently is set up as a low rake, just like Mercedes was. Teams like Red Bull, AlphaTauri, Ferrari are high rake concept cars. So
the higher rate concept cars are like probably the Red Bull, let's put it that way. That's
right. They were the ones that originally were really pushing that philosophy. We've seen this year, the last couple of races, we've seen the success that the Red Bulls, for example, have had, and just essentially that it's much more advantageous to be with a high rate concept with these aerodynamic rules. I'm going to ask you, Ruben, what do you think of Aston Martin asking for these rule changes?
It's actually surprising to me that they're asking for this, because this, my opinion, if you look at these teams, even though they changed names so much in this last 10, 12 years or whatever, but this have been the team that has been able to adapt the quickest compared to other teams. If you look at the history of the actual team, they were the first one to come out with the copy of the W diffuser. And let's go back just the nearest as last year. They had a copycat of the Mercedes. So why don't you just stick to what you do good and just try to work it out? Why are you complaining? Come on, why? Because you spend all this money trying to buy all this info from Mercedes and it's not working out for you?
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Get out of here. Come on.
I mean, for me, it's just that they don't have the capacity to adapt. They don't have the ability to come up with their own change, and they can't mid-season take from Mercedes, right? So they're just going to be stuck at the back where it's not what Lawrence Stroll was kind of pushing
Omar
for.
Safnar needs to do is stop crying. Wah. We're not fast enough because they changed the rules. Are you kidding me, bro? For them to get these rule changes, all the teams had to accept it. They had to vote on it. And they voted on it. And then all of a sudden, because it doesn't work for your car, you want to change the rules?
Right.
Are you kidding me, bro? No, it's just maddening because look at all the drama that they went through with last year.
Yes.
Right? They literally broke the rules.
Yeah.
They literally broke the rules. And on top of that, for this year, they took on Mercedes parts. I think, was it last year or this year? They took on Mercedes parts and they didn't have to use their tokens. Yeah. So what are you crying about? Dude, if you changed your philosophy of the car, and obviously it helped you last year and you thought it was going to help you this year, if you got it wrong, you got it wrong. So man up, make the changes. Mercedes definitely did it. They're clearly fast enough. They won a race already. They got a pole position. So if you don't have the resources, then get the resources. But for you to cry and that you're gonna sue the FIA and this and that, please, man, stop it. Because nobody else is doing that. And again, if these rule changes, it's not the FIA standing on their high horse and be like, we will change the rules. No, everybody has to vote on it. Everyone, including the FIA, including all the teams, everyone has to vote on it.
So they lost the vote.
You got it wrong, bro. Man up. Start racing.
They agreed to the change.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll touch base on this later and some of the ramifications from it. I'm a little disappointed, Ruben. We talked about Aston Martin. You didn't hit the drop. Come on.
Dude, you got to get up. If you're going to criticize him
I did?
about the socials, you need to get on point, bro.
Thank you, Yhancy.
You need to. What, I have to be the enforcer here, bro?
Thank you, Yhancy. Yo, the check's in the mail. Thank you.
My bad.
So one other thing right before we get into the race review. Guys.
All right, sorry. We're clearly having
deal with two kids here.
I think the coffee got us a little jittery today.
Okay. Sorry, Wilson.
No, just the last thing right before getting into the race review is before going, I think it was Thursday, they clarified that the track limits will be in effect, and they clarified exactly where they could not be, where they could be, and they identified what the penalties would be. We saw it in action where Lando Norris, who would have placed third in Q3? Second in Q3. Would have been on the front row had his lap deleted. What do you guys think of this?
It was consistent.
Yeah, it was. I think throughout the whole weekend. Actually.
Yeah.
Because remember, even during the race, Sonora got I think he even got a penalty, and I think
You're right.
He was next to be on the black and white flag. So
I
it
think
was.
Perez also got penalty.
Yes.
Laps deleted.
Yes. Even during the race, he got penalty.
Listen, we don't have to agree with all the rules that they put in place, but at least if you're consistent, then that's what it is. When you watch any baseball game or any basketball game or
Baseball's the
anything
worst
like that,
example.
yeah, but I'm just saying it's like
Well,
what
the
we
umpire
want.
himself is
Yeah,
consistent.
what we want as fans is for the calls to be consistent. So, and it's the same thing goes here. If they're gonna, if they lay out the rules beforehand for the weekend, keep it consistent throughout the weekend. Lando was clearly off just by a little bit, though. It wasn't that much, but he was clearly off. He got the penalty, and it was his fault.
It was sad to see them.
But he had the pace this weekend, though.
Man. Unbelievable.
So there's the race director, Mr. Sandy, not because of the rules being clarified and stuff like that.
Yes
Michael
and no.
Massey.
Yeah, yes and no. He deserves some credit, and we'll get into that.
So it's an applause with the wah.
Or no, let's take it back then.
The moment you criticize, now he's going to be all over the board. Oh man,
My bad.
no more coffee before. All right, so let's get into it. Our race review.
Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
I love that job.
That's awesome.
20 years ago, Nicky
think
Lauda.
One day we need to play like that in its entirety because it's just funny.
I hope we don't get in trouble for that. But yeah.
Yeah, for real.
No, we won't. Guys, heading into practice weekend, or heading into the weekend, the practice is pretty nondescript. Well, nondescript except for the fact that Nikita Mazepin first, what was it, in practice session 1, he spun. So that was expected. What surprised me in the first 2 practices is that the Mercedes cars were the fastest, right? And then not really much more to talk about during practices, right?
No, nothing really major.
Nothing really crazy, right?
So Noda keeps pushing the boundaries, and he also had a couple of incidents. He keeps pushing. He's showing that he could be fast. He just needs to settle down.
He's fearless.
Yes, there you go. He's young.
I think that.
I love that. I love that about him. Qualifying. So I'll give you the order, right? So pole position was Hamilton. Second was Perez. Third was Max. Fourth, Leclerc. Oh, sorry.
Charlie!
And fifth, Gasly. Gasly. No. So, just a couple of notes on the qualifying itself. Ruben's dying over here. The Mercedes cars. There was a story that came out during the race weekend that it was Valtteri Bottas that said that he feels much happier with the W12 at Imola this weekend. Guys, what does that tell you? Based off of what we heard from Aston Martin and then seeing the same concept, but now it's adjusted to better fit the drivers and I guess I'll call it the climate of the season. Now Mercedes is getting back into the swing of things with their car.
Here's the thing: you used to be able to use the excuse that any team can throw money at the problem, especially the big teams, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls,
Not
the
no more.
Mercedes. They can throw money at the problem and solve it, right? That's not the case this year because clearly, and we'll get into this after whatever with the race review. Clearly, everybody has a budget, a cost cap.
Mm-hmm.
What does it tell you? That Mercedes understands their car better, understands the philosophy because they've been running it for so many years.
Yep.
And not only have they been running it, but they've been running it successfully to the tune of 8 world championships in a row? Constructors?
Since 2014?
Yeah, 8 because Hamilton has,
7.
No.
it's 7
7.
actually. 7. Yes. So they understand the concept. They know what to fix. They're just a better team. Not that Aston Martin has the same philosophy, can't get there, but it's not about money this year. It's about knowing your car, a good team, that can get on top of the problem and solve it. And they've clearly solved it.
To me, I think it's a combination of two things, right? It's not just the car getting better, but then also you have seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton in that position. He's just going to squeeze the life out of that car, and you see the results. He puts it on pole. He's even surprised. Like Bono comes on the radio. It's like, dude, you got pole. And he's like, what? It was to see that reaction from Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. It's like, dude, how could you be surprised? But at the end of the day, the the fundamentals of some of the racing was flipped over, and Mercedes is slowly turning over to be able to catch up with those dynamic changes. So I don't know. I'm excited.
I don't
for
think
this
that
season.
they're necessarily faster, but they're getting close to being on par with Red Bull. And I don't know how much further. I don't see. Here's the thing: it's only 2 races, so I'm not gonna get too excited about the championship fight because we've been here before when Ferrari was challenging them.
Yeah,
but it certainly looks good.
Not only 2, but I think two similar tracks ish. I don't know. Any thoughts, Ruben?
Maybe
On that?
No,
on the Mercedes thing?
I think it's just also their experience. They tend to say 7-time world champion, but it's also, Ham doesn't panic. Ham is stone cold when he's racing.
At the best. I mean, that's why he's a champ.
We'll talk about that during the race as well. Yuki Tsunoda
Yes, sir.
crashed during qualifying. What do we think? Back down to earth?
No.
Listen, I wouldn't blame him for it. I think that he's just being the driver that got him to where he's at. It was tricky conditions.
Yeah. He took too much of the curb and he lost the rear end, and then the back end hit into the wall off of a chicane, and it kind of just wrecked his gearbox.
It broke his gearbox in half.
Jeez.
But he's a rookie.
It was a big hit, though.
He's a rookie. It's one of those things where it's all right. If you do it your second race, fine. After half the season is through, then you're gonna be like, yo, chill. So I think, but also you can't lose your aggressiveness. That's what makes him a good.
Absolutely.
That's what gets us excited about Tsunoda. So
You think that not only his aggressiveness, but also the AlphaTauri car being so quick now has him on that level, because he needs to adapt also to the difference between the, F2 and F1, and having, AlphaTauri has a nice car this year, man.
But I think it's better for him that he has a car that's drivable, as opposed to, let's say, a Haas or even a Williams. I think Haas is probably the worst, where you have 2 rookies driving those cars and they're undrivable. So.
Yeah. Schumacher spin too.
Schumacher spin.
Shoe spin.
For front wing.
Yeah. Q2, Carlos Sainz loses out on getting to Q3 by 0.06 of a second.
And that was 11th.
Yeah.
I think that the whole field was super close.
Yeah.
So you can tell that
it was like 0.04 of a second.
That's what gets us excited as fans, because it could be anybody. Obviously it worked out the way it did, but the whole field is closer together this season. And I think that's just the confluence of the rules.
And I think between him and 10th was like thousands of a second, something like that, the difference between the two.
600ths.
No, from him to first was 600. I'm talking about from him.
No. 600ths between Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll for 10th,
my bad. Okay.
For 10th place.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to talk about how close everything was at the top, Hamilton and Perez were separated by 0.03 of a second. Max Verstappen was 0.05 of a second behind Perez, and Leclerc in the Ferrari was actually 0.3 of a second behind Verstappen. 0.3 in the Ferrari behind the Red Bull.
That's my mistake on the. It was actually, I think, Sainz was like 0.5, from like the pack, from the front.
But it's actually it's exactly what Yhancy said. It's now that this generation of F1 is nearing a close, the cars are beginning to draw together as far as their
The
capabilities.
regulation changes, And, once you have rules that have been around for a while,
People catch
what
up.
you see is that, the concepts are all similar. They have this, a little bit difference, but everybody just comes together, and that's when we get like these great years where you don't have one team like super far ahead. Granted, it took forever to get to this point, but we're here.
Speaking of one team that is super far ahead in Ruben's heart, Williams. They had Latifi and George Russell together make it to Q2. Yep. We saw actually Nicholas Latifi in Q1 beat George Russell, which he had never been beaten by a teammate. Granted, Russell was able to flip the script. Yeah. But is that a sign of things to come for Williams, or is it just the track?
I believe also the other teams are doing that bad as well. Alpine is can't get a grip yet. We got Haas that they're not going anywhere. So it's that's already four drivers there.
For me, it's a combination of both. Obviously, they're better.
And we got Aston Martin that was back there too as well.
And Russell has said that this year...
Oh, better, not the team.
They said it before, before qualifying, was that the team is more focused on actually getting faster instead of just being in survival mode. The last few years they've just been in survival mode. They trying not to crash the car, trying to save their money. They're just trying to just be there.
That's true.
This season, it's more of what can we do to make the car faster, and it's obviously showing. So,
just to get back to what Ruben was saying, the cars that were behind them, both Haas's, obviously. Yuki Tsunoda did not qualify
because of the crash.
He was crashed out, and then the two Alfa Romeos, also 16th and 17th, Kimi and Antonio Giovinazzi. 15th was Fernando Alonso, which was a shock. And then Nicholas Latifi, Sebastian Vettel, and George Russell from the bottom up. So, I don't know.
Also on Williams, they did say before the season started that they're looking at certain tracks, not all tracks, certain tracks to be a little bit faster. Dominant, so they know that if the conditions are correct, they're going to be pretty good at certain tracks. We don't know the tracks, they didn't say it.
Yeah.
But maybe
they were good at this track last year.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
Poor Russell got no luck.
It actually reminds me of the GP2 engine McLaren, where they were like the Hungaroring, Singapore, Monaco. Those were the tracks that they were like, all right, we're going to do good in these tracks. We'll throw away the rest of the year, but we're going to focus here.
Yeah, because they didn't have any power.
GP2 engine.
Mm-hmm. But they got a Mercedes engine.
And then kind of the last story out of qualifying. How do I say this the right way? Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly, are they outperforming their cars, or like what do we make of their performances this Saturday? Charles Leclerc was 4th, Gasly was 5th.
I think the cars are good. I don't necessarily think they're outperforming the car. If you want to look at like an example of what outperforming a car is, you would look at what Leclerc did last year with the Ferrari.
Okay.
But I think that they have shown in the past the past 2 weekends that the AlphaTauri is quick, and so is the Ferrari. They're not as quick to fight for the top 3, but they are pretty quick to be at the front of the pack in the midfield. What you're seeing, though, is with Ferrari is that obviously the car is good, but you have two experienced drivers in Leclerc and Sainz, and we can go into this later, out of the drivers that have switched to new teams, it seems like Carlos Sainz is the one that's getting to grips with his new car faster than, let's say, like a Ricciardo or even or who else? Or even an Alonso, put it that way.
Yeah.
I think.
And then with AlphaTauri, I think it's just that obviously Gasly has had bad luck, and we can talk about the race later as far as his tire choice. And then Tsunoda's a rookie driver, and he's making rookie mistakes.
I think so far, when you talk about the middle of the pack teams, to me, AlphaTauri has been the surprise. We knew Ferrari was coming with changes already because they were already, they've been dragging. And
Charles, they have the resources too.
And they've been tailoring that car for Charles because Charles is the future of the team. So I'm not surprised that he's actually doing very well in the car. Sainz, as the time will go on, he will get better in the car. We all know that. He's he made a lot of mistakes in the race, but he's going to get there. But Pierre Gasly is, to me, the one that keeps settling into the team. Let's do this. Let's, pushing the team keeps pushing the boundaries. And so far, they've been surprising, and he's doing phenomenal. I think once Tsunoda settles down, he'll do even. He'll be right there. I think it will be a fight between Ferrari and AlphaTauri. Like I think we spoke about it before.
Excited.
For the midfield, championship.
It'll be
Formula 1.5.
It's between. I think it's between three teams. That it'll be Ferrari, McLaren, and AlphaTauri.
I think McLaren will be up there, like 1, 2, 3. In the top 3.
Oh, you think you put McLaren above?
I'm sorry, McLaren.
Ferrari.
McLaren will be 1, 2, 3. Ferrari will be midfield. That's what I said. No.
No, that makes sense. Well, you're saying
McLaren will be the third constructor.
Yes.
Then you don't think that Ferrari can take the fight to McLaren for that third spot?
But that's part of being a midfield team.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I think that we are seeing, we're seeing Charles Leclerc getting more and more used to the car. We're seeing the team building the car kind of around his preferences. Yeah. We're seeing that this guy is an unbelievable talent. He was pushing for a podium the entire race.
From the first lap.
Like this guy, if they put half a car under him, I hate to say this, but he is world driver championship material.
I told you so.
Charlie!
Proving me right, man.
And with Gasly, he's just on a revenge tour. That's what I feel like. He's just determined. Like I don't know.
He's showing how good he actually is.
Yeah. Half as good as me, but he's still pretty good. All right, so let's get actually onto the race itself. And before even getting to the race, the formation laps or the out laps for the cars, we saw Fernando Alonso spin and crash into the wall. We saw Lance Stroll rear brake catch on fire as he was exiting the pit lane.
And they just wanted to go faster. No, they just go faster.
Yeah, well, to get the air in there. But then they brought in both Lance and Vettel into the pit to change their brakes, like in a panic, because they didn't want that to happen during the race. That actually,
I think both of them their brakes were on fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weren't they being changed at the formation lap? At the formation before the start of the race. They were
being changed. Well, they did the
At
formation lap.
At the grid, yeah.
They were being changed at the grid.
At the grid, yeah.
They were trying to pull a Red Bull
last year with Verstappen.
They don't have the team for that.
So
they clearly didn't.
Vettel ends up getting a penalty because he didn't have his tires on at the 5-minute mark.
5 minutes before the
Can you believe that that's an actual rule? Like, who would be like, if your tires
your car needs to be 100% ready with tires on and everything.
Like, who cares? As long as it could drive, right?
Well,
and then Leclerc actually spun also at the turn is called Aqua Minerale, which, okay. So that's before
I was actually looking for the sponsor.
That sounds like
the alkaline
spring water.
No, I'm talking about the hot sponsor. What you were saying, the alkaline.
Oh, your alkaline.
Whatever it is.
Your alkaline mineral.
There you go.
Did you say hookah line?
No, I said alkaline.
Oh, man.
Not hookah, not yet.
All right, so that's the pre-race. Oh, man. No more coffee for you guys. That's the pre-race, and dude, right at the start of the race, Max Verstappen, I don't know. Yeah, we could say Max Verstappen, unbelievable start. I was going to start to say, did Lewis just have a slow start? But no, because Perez he had a good start too, and Max blasted past him.
Max started on second gear.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah, he started on second gear.
I just know he flew off the line.
He started on second gear because you get less wheel spin.
Because it's a heavy gear.
because it's a heavy gear. So he started on second gear and just flew past him. And Perez got a good start too.
Yeah.
So they basically were trying to, they mauled Lewis.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, yeah. Now we're missing Bottas because
Yeah.
we need you
What-
to help us defend here. Like, where
What
are you?
sucked was that on the camera angle, you're trying to see it. You can't see
You
it.
can't
So
see
much
anything
spray. I'm
because
like,
of the
what's
spray.
going on?
Yeah.
Okay, where are they? Where's the cars?
What's going on?
Yeah. So what was it? He got him into turn one. It was just a disaster for Lewis Hamilton because not only did he get passed, but then he went over the curbs at the chicane.
And car jumped.
Car
The car
jumped.
was
It
bunny
looked,
hopping.
to me, it looked like he
Yeah.
was going to get like floor damage, but like I guess it didn't.
He
And-
got some damage on the front, wing, but
but he was very lucky because, well, no, he didn't pit with the safety car. I don't know. What do you guys think of? We're going to talk about this again. The Max versus Lewis dynamic.
it's gonna be fun.
It's going to be fun all year.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun all year. If it looks like they can they're pretty equal machinery as far as
Yeah.
it's gonna go back and forth. I think the key is gonna be for the rest of the year is obviously qualifying is gonna be important and who can get ahead. It was what I pointed out last season. Obviously the start was great because Max got ahead. He was third. So he was able to get ahead. Perez didn't have a good race. He had a horrible race actually. And but these cars, and this is where you can tell that Max did have that problem with the differential, hurt him
Bahrain
in Bahrain. He was able to get
and pull
a
away.
gap and pull away when he was in the front, even in the rain. He was able to pull 4 or 5 seconds ahead, and he
More than
probably
that
would have
one point.
gotten way ahead if there wasn't so many safety cars and
Oh, yeah.
stops and red flags and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, qualifying is going to be key this season, and getting ahead during the race is going to be key. That's going to be key, but then also the way your strategy plays out, and the cars have to be in front. If you're at a disadvantage if you don't have both cars in front.
I think the beginning of the race, obviously, Max just shot off the line. Like, he came out of the line like a rocket.
Yeah.
And I think they were just pretty much playing chicken. Are you going to let me through? Not going to let me through? Okay, so I'll push you off. And that's why how Hamilton started bunny hopping on the side. But because I think he took Max took the place because of his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Perez
absolutely.
probably would not have done that move.
It was very, very on the line
Yes.
that he did. But then
I think I even think they touch a little bit.
and then, credit to Lewis also because obviously he got behind, but and it was a little bit touch and go because they didn't know how the damage was going to affect him. But I think what happened there was after obviously they all started on intermediates. Some of them, but I mean the two at the front started at intermediates, and we saw what we saw last year. I think it was in Portugal, where the tread on the tire started to go away and they turned into slick
Intermediates.
So you had a patch on the tires which
coming up.
were slicks, and that's when Lewis started catching up. And,
Meaning with the grip.
yeah, with
Started
the
getting a little
grip.
bit
So
of grip.
before they pitted, I think they were only like a second and a half apart before they pitted. Well, Lewis was a second and a half from.
What was it I told you
From
yesterday when we were
Max.
watching the race regarding Lewis's and his tires? They're like the only tires that resurrect or something like that?
Yeah.
Because
Gone,
I'm getting life now.
Yeah, really, all of a sudden.
He's the only guy that has like tires that
Because
resurrect.
Max
my tires are gone.
Max
They're
was
dead.
like 5-6 seconds ahead, and then all of a sudden you see Lewis catching up. He's getting fastest laps, and he literally got within like a second and a half before Red Bull had to pit Max.
They were literally trading.
Mm-hmm.
And that pit stop killed Ham too. Hamilton would have been they would have been next to each other or maybe a slightly ahead. If they would have gotten about the same timing as a Red Bull.
Yeah, because Red Bull
got a thing like a 2.2.
2.2,
And Hamilton was like a 4.0.
It was 4, yeah.
So that was at Verstappen pitted at lap 27, Hamilton at lap 28, both from intermediates onto mediums. I'm just going to bring it back a little bit. Lap 2, the curse of Nikita Mazepin, it looked like he hit Latifi, causing a crash for Latifi to go off the track, hit the barrier and causing the first safety car of the race.
That wasn't the way it happened though. Was it wasn't actually as much as
I want to say.
Yeah. Latifi went off, and when he came back on is when he hit Mazepin. So that caused him
Gotcha.
to
Okay, so
spin.
we're gonna do this first from Mazepin for at least doing one lap. You know.
One lap without spinning.
But yeah, but that's exactly, so that was actually Latifi's fault.
Okay.
A lot of things happened this weekend. That it was my fault, your fault, his fault. Our
Dude,
fault.
it was
Rain.
a lot.
There was a lot of
There
action.
was a
going on
lot
this weekend.
going on. Obviously, I don't think that the race director, as far as TV, did a good job, but you kind of understand
I was
because there
holding
was
that up for
just
later.
so many things going on during
nah.
the first
Dude,
stint of the race.
I was complaining about the director the whole time. But
Mhm.
so that was the first safety car. One guy that I do want to talk about here, and it's not going to be a fun year for this guy. Valtteri Bottas. I think you saved the drop for later. Valtteri Bottas started 8th, qualified 8th, and then he dropped back in the rain. He was 10th, and he was stuck in 10th for so long. We made the comment a few weeks back on the race review for Bahrain that would Valtteri Bottas have been able to come from the pit lane start that Sergio Perez did and be able to climb up the field? Now we know that the answer is probably not. This guy,
He's not doing it.
he had trouble. What's crazy is this is a great contrast here. It was 10th, and for a time, Lando Norris was 9th. Lando Norris finished on the podium.
Yes.
What happened?
Bottas lost 2 places right at the start.
Right
too,
at
by
the
way.
start, yes.
So he probably spun through water everybody, but I'm stuck, help me swim, you know?
Yeah.
And then when he finally got grip, he's already 10th. I can't go nowhere, I'm swimming. Okay, but
I mean, he didn't
man.
say that, but yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yo, you can't go nowhere?
Here's what I think. I think that Bottas.
You think the pressure's getting to him?
Since we all know now that he is comfortable with showing his arse on TV, I think he might want to start
So he had the
exploring the
curse of the arse?
options of starting an OnlyFans.
Oh, a Finnish OnlyFans. He's a blonde model.
Dude, let's put it this way.
Come on.
We saw. I was watching the F1 TV coverage, and I think they put it right where it was a tale of two halves, basically, for the race. We saw the first half, Bottas struggling to get out of 10th place in a Mercedes, and then the second half we see obviously Hamilton with his issues, and we'll get to what happened to him, but he obviously fell back to, I think, 10th or 9th place.
Yeah.
And he finished second.
Yeah.
He felt
In
like
the
ninth.
same
And he was gaining on Max.
in the same car.
By the way, prior to Hamilton, I guess, going off the track, he was right there on lapping Bottas as well.
Mind you, on a track,
I think that Bottas was the next car, or was
To lap
Russell.
him.
Yeah, to get lapped,
Mind
to be
you-
able to get past.
on a track that's super difficult to overtake.
Yep.
And what?
So, yeah, man, just look out for that OnlyFans.
I think here's what I'm going to tell you, right?
The curse of the arse?
This is what I think is happening with Bottas, right? He got used to driving that Mercedes over the last couple of years. He was good. He had some good races, some not so good races. He had his issues. He wasn't like a world class, like whatever on that car. He wasn't Lewis Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happened. Now the car isn't the best car for the grid. Now the low rate concept is hurting him. He's not able to adjust to the level that Lewis Hamilton was able to adjust. And it's throwing him off. We saw the issues he had in this race. I'm struggling to remember, like the last race in Bahrain. Did he really stand out? Not really. It was the two at the front and then Bottas,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, he was just pretty much keeping guard.
He
Don't let
was
nobody pass me.
he was lucky that Perez was not there right behind him,
Right.
because he would have got him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Perez would have gotten him, definitely.
So
wait, the pace that the Perez showed in that race, Perez would have gotten past him with no problem, with ease.
I just think that this is Bottas is in trouble because now he's not as comfortable as he was with the car last year, where he had the same style car, the same rules, and the car was just dominant, right? Now it's going to be a problem for him to adjust to I'm going to call it a higher rake, to the new aero rules, to
Challenges
to
that come
now being under.
It is what I've always said. If you guys have listened to our previous podcast, and I always say this is what separates a good driver from a great driver. It is the fact that a great driver can adapt to the car, even if that car does not suit their driving style. So you hear Perez in the interviews during the weekend has said yes. And he says he hasn't come to grips with the Red Bull and that he has had to switch up his driving style in order for him to get on top of it. And that's what he's doing, and eventually he will. If you're and Leclerc is the same way, Max is the same way, Hamilton is the king of that, obviously. He's a 7-time world champion. They are able to take the car that is given to them, and Alonso is also, the car that is given to them, and take that car to another level where it's not supposed to be at. And all this criticism about Hamilton, that he's always in the best car. Yeah. Hamilton has won at least one race every year, regardless of the car.
And look what happened this weekend.
Exactly. So
can you give him a bigger challenge than that?
If you want to gauge these drivers and how good they are, look at that aspect. If you follow F1, can they take a car that's not necessarily good and put it in a position where it's actually on a podium or winning races?
So what happens as a result? What happens as a result of Valtteri Bottas not being able to pass anybody, staying down in the dumps, down on 10th place? What ends up happening? The accident with George Russell. Yep. Does that happen if he's further ahead? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's get into that. We all saw the replays. What?
No, I wasn't. And if he was in the front because of what happened to Hamilton, he probably might have been able to pick up the scraps, like we spoken before. Like, you have to be there, and you have to defend your, or be there with your team or your companion.
Absolutely. So perfect, actually, because now he didn't get points.
Nope.
Now Red Bull is nipping at the heels of Mercedes. It would have been a perfect opportunity because Perez had a terrible race himself
to pull ahead.
You need to have. I said it while we were watching it, right? Right now, Valtteri Bottas is the Alex Albon of Mercedes. He is just in outer space.
I remember the comment from yesterday, and I've been dying to say. I just didn't remember the guy's name. I didn't remember Albon's name. That's what it was.
You're going to forget Bottas next year,
too? Probably. We probably all
Gone
will.
with the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but like now in the championship standings, it's much closer, and it's a result of just Bottas not being there. Mercedes would be miles ahead right now. Perez, his car stopped in Bahrain. He had so many issues. This is a guy new to a team that, he should be having these issues. And Mercedes should be capitalizing more so than they already have. And they can't because of Valtteri Bottas.
Yep. And he's being unqualified by Perez also.
Yep.
Because remember, Perez had his issues and made a lot of mistakes, but he did qualify second.
I was going to say this. Would the beginning of the race, Max getting past Hamilton, not going to say easy, but it's because Max flew off of the, he jumped the start. He jumped from the start. But if Bottas was there, I think they might have had some kind of, a small cushion on the attack.
Well,
remember, all right, let's say, for example, Perez did get, the same thing, he got second.
Mm-hmm.
Bottas probably would have gotten third.
Yeah.
Or right behind Max.
Yeah, but what did he qualify? 9th?
Yeah, because
and he didn't even.
No, but I'm talking about as far as
No, I got
being
you.
right there with your
but you
team
saw it
and
at the
being-
beginning. You saw how Hamilton got mauled by 2 Red Bulls.
Yeah.
He basically
Exactly. That's pretty
he
much the
had
point.
Max going up on
And Perez smelling
on
him.
the right
Like, hello?
next to him, and the fact that he had to worry about Perez, he didn't even notice that Max was coming up behind him.
That's right. He pulled
He
over.
caught
to
him
the
by
right.
surprise.
The only thing Perez was missing was like a horn. Bang, 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 bang. Come on, let me through.
Yeah, man.
You're blocking me here.
Wow.
You're holding up the line.
It's just that's exactly what happened, man.
So the crash. We saw that was on the start finish straight, right at the end, right before the first going into that first turn leading into that chicane.
Between turns 1 and 2, because the little kink on the straight is actually
You're right, yeah.
turn 1, yeah.
So we see Bottas on the left-hand side of the track, George Russell coming in like a freaking missile. DRS wide open. Was it DRS at the time?
Yes.
Yeah,
DRS was wide open. He had the toe. He was coming in hot. Pulls up alongside Valtteri Bottas, and unfortunately hits. He believes that he was squeezed. Hits
I think so too.
the wet patch of grass, and that just sends his right side, into the stratosphere and vaults him into Valtteri Bottas into a crash. Who's at fault here? Yhancy. Yhancy's not at fault, but I'm asking the question.
Yeah, it was all my fault.
Yeah. Russell blamed you actually
Yeah,
in the post race.
yeah. That's what got him into hot water with Toto Wolff. Him blaming me. I saw this replay so many times. At first, I thought it was Russell's fault. I think he had plenty of room. He had plenty of room on the right side to make that overtake. But as I watched closer, I did see Bottas move a little bit. And it would have been good to see the onboards. I didn't get a chance to see the onboards. I don't think they were even available. To see if Bottas did move it.
They showed Russell's onboard and board, but they showed all.
Well, I'm talking
Kimi
about the
behind
steering
him.
wheel. The steering wheel with them driving.
Okay.
I didn't. It would have been too good to see if Bottas did move the steering wheel a little bit. He did move it a little bit, and I get Russell's point. When you're going that fast, you're going almost 200 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were saying 220. I don't know if
330 kilometers. Is what
yeah.
they said.
So whatever, you're going. It's fast. It's probably the fastest point on the track.
Yes.
Any little movement, especially when you're wheel to wheel, is gonna make you react. Now, it seems what happened is that George Russell reacted to that. He hit the web patch and it just vaulted him into Valtteri, and obviously the rest is history. It's tough for me to say. I think the stewards got it right. It's a racing incident.
Yeah.
It happens. I think the story is the aftermath of what happens. Obviously, George Russell was livid and put on his tinfoil hat. And I have the quote here, and I'm going to read it to you because I'm fighting for P9. A P9 for him is absolutely nothing, almost meaningless. He did have a move that you would do if you were fighting for victory on the last lap of the race. It begs the question why he would do that for P9. Perhaps if it was another driver, he wouldn't have. So that went through my mind. I think at that point, what George Russell looks like he's a little bit full of himself.
Like the Sakir got into his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's all right. He's making up these rivalries within himself when, dude, you're still young. It's 30 year, and you're driving in the back with Williams.
Yeah. That's what Bottas said. It was all theories on his part.
Yeah, and I think, it really was. But based on the comments that Toto Wolff had after the race, and I guess he got a tongue lashing from Toto Wolff because he apologized this morning. Russell apologized this morning. However, and I don't necessarily agree with Toto Wolff fully because obviously you're a racing driver and you're going to go for the pass regardless of whatever position it is.
The gap.
It's a gap. But, however, what happens is that, and I think this is what hurts Russell's chances for a Mercedes seat as long as Lewis Hamilton is there, is that if you have Russell in that seat, let's say he does replace Bottas, that harmony, after the Rosberg years,
gone.
It's what has kept Mercedes successful for the past 3 years that Bottas has been there. That is instantly going to be gone because Russell is obviously hungry and he wants to win. So that shows you, that's showing Toto Wolff and all of Mercedes, like, if I bring this guy in,
it's not going to be good.
It's going to be a problem that might have saved Valtteri's seat for next year.
Ruben, what do you
or
think?
as long as Hamilton is on that team.
What do you think, Ruben?
I think, pretty much going along the lines of what Yhancy was saying earlier is that, yes, he had the pace. At that moment, he had the speed to overtake him. Bottas not just going to, hey, let me put to the side. You get by. Don't worry, friend. No, he's going to at least make believe he's going to throw in the car at you so you could panic. You shift to the side, but he just went too far. And just, because if you look at some of the replays, he just slightly, and he had space.
He definitely had space.
So he just slightly touched the grass because of the speed and the water that was there.
He was pumped. He was pumped. Mm-hmm. That's why he went too far over.
But it's just sad that Russell, at the same track, fighting for points, he crashes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like he's a bit of a choke artist.
No, I would not say choke artist. Maybe he's not made to get points in Italy.
But I mean, it's just...
It has to do with that too, with experience. He's young, he could have told himself, hey, I'm gonna get some points here.
Absolutely.
Let me wait till next lap to overtake this guy.
What I think,
because we have plenty of laps left still.
Well, what I clearly see is it's projection. It's him
right away saying, "Oh, it's
blaming Valtteri."
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. And him saying, "Oh, Valtteri's thinking about me," when in fact he's thinking about
Valtteri.
That situation. Dude, focus on what you have to do. Now, do I blame him for going for that? No, absolutely not. But when you start saying things like that,
afterwards,
dude, you're completely wrong.
Well, he tried to, after the crash, he tried to take it to Bottas. And what did Bottas tell him?
To whom it may
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. So,
and it clearly showed in the camera. The camera angle did not help a lot on it.
Kind of flipped the bird.
It clearly showed like the tip of a bird going flying over there.
That drop is so perfect.
I thought Valtteri handled it well. He told him he was number one.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, my friend. You won that. You won that place. There you go.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, right?
Oh, Bottas was like, bro, it's only one place. Come on.
One place. 1 point.
1 point.
Yeah. So again, I don't blame him because if you're faster, you want to pass him, go ahead. But if you're gonna do that just because you want to show up Valtteri Bottas, dude, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
So here's what
and
I'm
I think
tell you,
Toto Wolff saw right through that. Obviously with his comments afterwards.
Toto Wolff just cut his wings. Come down, little boy.
Yeah,
just cut your wings. Don't fly away too quick. Mm-hmm. Get back in the nest. You're not ready.
Yeah.
Yes, he led into it right away for me with the whole blame thing.
Mm-hmm.
We know Toto Wolff is very particular about his no blame culture in Mercedes.
Yes.
So what does that mean? That his number 3 driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right away blamed the number 2 driver in an accident, and it's blamed. That's exactly what that was. Coming off of, he was hot, he was pissed off, whatever it is. You take the time, you reflect. What could I have done better? That's what the Mercedes philosophy kind of has been. So there's that. Number 2, you cost, even though you're a Williams driver, you cost your team points. Because Mercedes is your team at the end of the day.
Finally get some points.
Right. At the end of the day, no, not Williams, Mercedes. At the end of the day, what matters to Toto Wolff is the points, winning the Constructors Championship. He's going to be in a war all year with Red Bull. Those points could come in handy.
Yes.
This
was a perfect weekend to capitalize.
Exactly. They're up right now 7 points.
And there's another thing, there's another aspect to this, which I didn't think about until Toto Wolff said it. The damage is costly.
Yeah, money.
Cost cap.
Cost cap, yep.
They can't just throw money at that stuff. So what he's saying now, what he said is that car, Valtteri's car, is almost a wash. They're trying to see what they can save from that car. but it's almost what we call with car insurance. It's a total loss.
It's totaled. Yeah.
It's total loss. So what he's saying is that could stop development on certain upgrades that they wanted to bring a little bit earlier.
That's a great
especially
point.
In their battle, especially that they have a proper battle at the front with Red Bull. They're not far off.
And if it stops Mercedes development, imagine Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So then beyond that, like, we were talking crap about him, but Valtteri Bottas got wrecked. Like, me as a mere mortal, I don't know, like, it would have taken me a week to recover from that impact, right?
It was a big hit. When he, obviously, not only the impact with Russell, but the aftermath with him, as far as like how he bounced off the wall and all this stuff. Dude, he showed, because he went back in the medical car. Russell walked off. Bottas waited for the medical car to move.
I mean, credit to Bottas. At least he was able to get a finger up.
Yeah, well, that was probably the.
He showed that he was all right.
That was the adrenaline, just being like, you know what?
Yeah. No, but I mean,
hit that again.
But listen, man, that was a big crash. It was. They called it on F1 TV an airplane crash,
dude.
It was pretty crazy.
Before you go to the next one, I'm sorry, but this is something just came into my head. Can we just ask Mercedes to one day, maybe this car, one of those crash cars, to have it at the museum so we could see how that would look?
Go ahead, ask them, bro. They watch.
Mercedes, please.
Yo, the Mercedes Twitter admin.
Yes,
they're all over. They're good.
Yeah, they watch. Go ahead.
So we could, see, hey, this is the aftermath of not only of a F1 car crashing. This is how it looks. Like, we kept it intact for the public to see, whatever,
That'll actually be
right, like a good attraction to add to the museum.
Are we in agreement that racing incident, Russell just handled it wrong afterwards?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a racing incident because again, I thought it was his fault, but you can see Valtteri moving a little bit to the right hand side. It was a racing incident. It's just the way it was handled by Russell. It could have been nothing. It could have been something that you could have just talked it out. What happened?
That's what I'm saying. Why didn't anybody stop this guy? Obviously, when they crash or whatever, a car it's not going to finish in the race. Those drivers normally go.
They go straight to the pen.
To the pen to see the new.
They're hot.
Exactly. Why didn't nobody at least smack this kid? Like, yo, watch your mouth.
You know what? I'm glad they didn't, because it's giving us something to talk about.
Yeah.
But now they know.
But it just shows you. Listen, he's young. He has a lot to learn. But I think what made this bigger than what it should be was his comments.
Yeah, he should have just shaken it off. Let's move forward. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. And it's clearly you can see that somebody got to him because he
afterwards, of course.
This morning,
Total called him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, let's talk about Lewis Hamilton and his drive. So right before it was right before that crash, right? That he went off of
right before it.
He went off the road. I don't remember what turn. He was in the gravel. We were watching it at the New York City meetup here at the Failure Bar. The whole bar was like silent, right? You could hear a pin drop because it's like, okay, is that it for the race? Like, is this a guaranteed win for Max and the Red Bulls, etc.? Dude, I don't know if we've seen any other type of driver or any other driver be able to get out of the gravel and just continue his race and do what he's got to do.
No less reversed, which is not illegal. It's only illegal in the pit lane.
Oh my god!
So and obviously they have access to the team radio, so the team is telling them, who's behind this and that. I think also what saved them was that as he was doing that, he was already a lap down, but as he was doing that, Russell and Bottas were having their crash. So what saved him for that race was that it was red flagged. So he was basically able. I mean, he wasn't
pretty much not to be 2 laps down.
Yeah, and he was so far ahead that it wasn't like the entire field lapped him. It was the
front.
He came in like 9th or 8th.
He was 9th.
Place.
He was 9th.
He was 9th.
After that.
But it was already lapped down by being 9th.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but he had already lapped most of the field anyways.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, after the crash.
But he was a lap down.
Yes.
He was a lap down.
So that's why it was weird, because when it was red flag before it started, this car started to go around. So people were like, what are they doing? But it was because those cars need to be on lap.
Yes.
Because it was going to be like a rolling start and all that others.
But I mean, it was
Lewis showed his experience. He never give up. He saw that he had forward movement, but hey, I broke my win. What do? I can't go forward anymore. I can't just do a donut here. It's like, okay, reverse is working. Because you notice when he was in reverse, he never floored it either. It was like the car was just on idle, pretty much going back.
It's why he's the champ, man.
And then okay, go for it. Going to first.
It's hard not to be a fan of Lewis Hamilton. Still I rise. He lives by that. He never gives up. It doesn't matter, man. It was amazing that he got out of it. And then what he did after that, he regrouped himself. He took advantage of the red flag. He regrouped himself and came out. Lights out, man. What he did, there's very few drivers on the grid that can do that.
Of course, the number 2 driver in the supposedly, it's the car. It's not him. So this guy couldn't get out of 10th. Until he crashed.
So come back through the
Lewis
field.
Crashes, gets a new wing, red flag, blah, blah, all that stuff, and he still comes back all the way.
In tricky conditions,
Yes.
in a track that's super hard to overtake because we all see how narrow it is. And that last overtake that he had on Norris, that was crazy. Because Norris actually did a very good job
At keeping him at bay.
And defending him, and he just came out last second, whoop, and just got by him.
If
Clean
Norris
overtake, that it just shows you how experienced and how good Lewis.
I think if Norris would have had better tires, it would have been a couple of more laps before. It would have been very close for Lewis to get by him, because I believe Norris at the beginning was defending, but his tires were just pretty much almost shot.
Well, he was the only one on the soft tires at that stage of the race.
Lewis.
No,
Norris?
Norris, yeah. Everybody else was on mediums.
So,
because we had thought that Lando Norris might not be able to get the podium because he might slow down at the
Exactly. Yeah, from the get-go.
Because of the tire wear.
We thought Charlie would have been
So we saw Max Verstappen win, and we saw Lewis Hamilton climb from 9th to 2nd place, a far cry from what Valtteri Bottas had done in the same car, in the same track. Not exactly the same conditions, but should have been able to do better, right? The guy that we were just talking about, Mando Norris, proving he is a man. So let's go backwards from what you guys were talking about, right? What was it? 3 straight laps that he was able to keep Hamilton at bay. He must have used every last bit of juice in that battery to fight off Hamilton, who was charging with DRS, probably engine turned up as much as you can turn it up these days.
At a tire disadvantage.
A tire disadvantage, like 2 things, right? 1, how good is Lando? And then 2, how good is that McLaren, that chassis, the aero, and now the Mercedes engine?
McLaren as a team is lights ahead, yeah.
Andreas Seidel,
way better than obviously the McLaren Honda days, but even last year, that car is good. And I think that their aero department has obviously done a great job, but the engine
is Ferrari going to beat them?
Is going to be. I don't know about that. But also, you can see the change in demeanor in Lando or Mando.
Mando.
He is not a child anymore. He wants to be the team leader.
So he's
no longer a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, whatever. I mean,
that probably helped him too.
He still is.
But
that probably helped him too.
But what I'm saying is that you can see that he doesn't want to be looked at as somebody who's just like
a joke.
He's not a character. He's a driver. He wants to be considered a team leader. He's been there for 3 years already. He's been there for 3 years already. He knows that the pedigree of driver that is coming in as his teammate now is Ricciardo. Ricciardo is kind of like taking him as a joke, but I guess he's going to have to take him seriously now. He's very aware of what people are saying, what people feel about him, and he wants to change that, and he's showing it. He wants to be considered the team leader. He wants to be considered a good racing driver, and the only way to do that is to get results. And clearly, what you have seen in the first 2 races is that he ain't here to play around.
I think it's part of the growth too. third year. He's been, he's not a sophomore anymore. He's, junior.
Oh my God, get out of here.
He would have. He would have if he didn't. He clearly, and it shows his maturity. He clearly messed up in qualifying. He was on for a great lap.
Yes.
He barely got off the track, so he was going to be second. Dropped down to 7th. He had the wherewithal to in these tricky conditions because it was. If you listen to all the team radios, all the driver radios at the end of the race, for the most part, you can hear the driver saying, and F1 has a video on this. You can hear the driver saying, "Wow, that was a difficult race. Wow, that was a difficult race." Everybody had a difficult race, and to have those difficult conditions, and come back through the field from 7th and finish on the podium. Bravo, Lando, man. He's showing that he's a very good racing driver, and that Ricciardo is gonna have.
We have to give credit to the team too.
He's gonna have his.
The team recognized that he had the pace.
Competition this year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Told Ricciardo, hey, we want to see what is in clean air, what this guy could do. Please let him through. And Ricciardo recognized that Lando had the pace.
Mm-hmm.
He blasted past.
Because a couple of laps later, he was like 4 seconds ahead of Ricciardo.
Yeah, I mean, once he got past him, he was gone.
Ricciardo ended up finishing 6th to Lando's 3rd. Right now, in the Drivers' Championship, Lando is in 3rd place with 27 points behind Verstappen and Hamilton, who are just going to be at the front. But
Deja vu last year.
Yeah.
What's up?
Deja vu last year.
Yeah, because you got the podium in Austria first race.
First or second race?
First one, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was second race.
He got the podium in the second race.
The second race?
Yeah.
Oh, because Leclerc got the podium in the first one.
Wow, here we go. You had to rub that in. So
you're arguing with me about the stories and events happening and stuff like that?
Sorry.
Let's bring it back. But in the Constructors Championship,
sorry, Bottas. I'm Russell to Bottas.
Whoa!
Mercedes is at 60 points, Red Bull is at 53, and McLaren is at 41. Dude, if Ricciardo can get his head on straight faster than either Bottas or Perez, I am excited to see what happens in that
third. Yeah, right now it does look like McLaren. And it's not only when Ricciardo gets on top of it. I think he's that good of a driver. And we saw when he started with Renault, it took him like 5 or 6 races before he was on it, and he'll get on top of the car. If Ricciardo and Lando are driving the way they're expected to drive, it's safe to say, and it pains me to say it, that they can run away with third place. Yeah.
So I'm gonna
because I don't think the Ferrari is as good as the McLaren.
I'm gonna go one step further. Right.
Thank you.
Now you have
Thank you.
2 decent drivers in Lando and Ricciardo. Right. You have a car that is not struggling with the high rake, low rake concept that Mercedes is struggling with it. Mm-hmm. You have a team that can focus its resources on developing the car and not catching up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna see. Remember that they're taking on a new engine. Now they're getting used to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see at the end of the year that McLaren is going to be challenging for race wins, let alone just podiums.
Wow.
Mm.
What do you think? Maybe? Am I crazy?
I don't think
I'm crazy.
No, depending how
we got our boy Andreas Seidel.
Yeah. It depends.
Yo, dude.
It depends, man. I don't know. And that's interesting. I don't know, man.
I think it's a little far-fetched, but
for race wins?
But look at what happened this weekend. They will be there to pick up the scraps.
Yeah, but
if it's not
what was the scrap? What scrap did they pick up?
No, Bottas was not up there, and Perez was not there either.
Bottas right now is not driving he qualified 8th.
But that was not expected. Prior to the weekend, nobody was expecting Bottas to be 8th. So they had an opportunity. And obviously they had the pace as well. So they're showing, well, if this guy doesn't want it, I'm taking it.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
And then Perez had a bunch of mistakes in the race.
It's gonna have to be one of those. If they can be on for a win, but it's gonna be one of those races where it's like Imola last year, where Gasly got the win.
Monza.
Oh, Monza. Yeah. Monza. Imola last year. What am I talking about? Monza last year, where Gasly got the win. It's gonna have to be one of those like crazy races for that to happen. I think that Mercedes and Red Bull are way too far ahead.
But if McLaren keeps up with this pace, and we know Max, I don't ever think he has ever had a clean year. That mistakes don't happen, and McLaren will be right there. That's what I mean by picking up.
Yeah, I
not
think
just mistakes, but reliability.
I think that's something that Wellington. I was thinking about that yesterday. Actually, Wellington brought that point. I think that the key to Red Bull mounting a legit challenge to Mercedes is gonna be the reliability aspect of it. And if they're not reliable, as like you said, McLaren can be there to pick up the scraps as well.
Dude, I'm excited. Not only that, but
and don't count Ferrari out either.
Exactly. So that's what I was gonna say. Who had a terrible race but was still there, finished 5th? Hit the drop. Whee! Mr. Carlos Sainz.
Smooth operator.
Wait.
Don't quit your day job, bro.
No. I want Yhancy to sing this song in Italian next week. I just got it in my head. Imagine Yhancy comes out with this song in Italian out of nowhere.
No, he did make a lot of mistakes, but
He made a ton of mistakes. And I think the
still
team did a good job as well to calm him down. Like, okay, we got you. Come on.
But it's like I said, it seems that out of all the drivers that changed teams,
Ricardo, Perez,
Vettel,
Sainz, Vettel, and Alonso, we'll say.
Yeah. He seems to be the one that is more on top of it and getting used to the car. And he did the same thing at McLaren. So he has a history of doing that. What he did when McLaren is that he moved to Woking and was right there at the factory all the time, just learning, soaking it all in. And he did the same thing with Ferrari. So, and you can see the fruits of that labor. He seems to be getting on real good. He's going to give Leclerc a run for his money.
Eventually.
And that's exactly what Ferrari needs. They need to have both drivers up there scoring points and picking up the scraps when there are some.
Well, when you said that about Sainz moving, I got the picture in my head. Wow, so this kid moved to the track, to his little old houses next to the track that they have there where all the drivers sleep on. Damn. Wow.
Dude,
Too bad we couldn't take a picture.
It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, it is because there's so many variables. So I'm going to run down the list here. Max Verstappen was 1st, Hamilton 2nd, Norris 3rd, 4th Leclerc, 5th Sainz, 6th Daniel Ricciardo, 7th Pierre Gasly in a better luck next time race because he had a lot of mistakes as well. 8th Lance Stroll. Nothing? Okay.
No, I mean, listen, he's
doing all right. Yeah, he's doing all right.
He's actually been the rock of the team so far this year.
I was going to say the life.
Not the life, but the rock. I mean, he's at least he's scoring points. He's up there. He knows the car, obviously, because he's been there for 2 or 3 years now. He's not doing bad. He seems like he's getting better and better every year. He didn't do too bad last year, but let's see. I mean, he did start off good last year also, so we'll see what happens. And he dropped off. We'll see what happens, but he's doing pretty good. And then I think with AlphaTauri, I think
he made a lot of mistakes.
It's all self-inflicted. He made a lot of mistakes, but he also started on the wrong tire.
Yep.
So instead of starting on the intermediates, they went full wet.
He started on wets along with Ocon, Schumacher, and Mazepin.
Yeah,
so when you're in the same boat as Mazepin and Schumacher, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't the team. He agreed with the strategy. They took a gamble. It obviously didn't work.
Yeah,
but that's the whole thing. It's the experience. You can have a fast car, but you have to execute. And they
took a gamble and it didn't work. They took a gamble that it was going to be more wet.
AlphaTauri,
and it looked like that at the beginning of the race because there was so much overspray. Like, oh, maybe they did.
If AlphaTauri can limit those mistakes, I think they can be fighting up there in the midfield as well. But
I think but they have to come to realize also that they do have good pace now. They don't need to take a gamble to be there.
Yeah.
Meaning in the past,
right,
a gamble like that will work on you getting. Hey, let's take this gamble just to see what happens. Meaning, a la Haas.
Like Haas did last year in is it Hungary that they did that?
Where they came out on
They came out on what? They changed the tires.
Like right at the
Yeah, they changed the tires. They went out full wets. Everybody's one intermediate.
It's all a chess match. I love it. So to round out the top 10, Ocon was 9th. Alonso was 10th. I don't know where that Alpine car is. to be honest, compared to everybody else.
It's definitely not showing the pace of last year.
Actually, it was
At the end of last
It's not showing the end of last year. Renault, not Alpine. It's a new team.
Kimi actually finished 10th, and then he got like a 30-second penalty. And Stroll got a penalty too. He actually finished higher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kimi dropped. Got a 30-second penalty. Yeah.
And they tried to tell him what to do after the crash, and he just leave me alone.
Yeah.
But I think in his thing was also part of little things with the rules. I think he just got caught off right at the entrance to the pit, and as the red flag came on, and he just had to do another lap around. That's why he got the penalty for it.
Yeah, and then
it was red flag, and he just came
Stroll got a penalty because he overtook. I think it was Gasly, or it was one of the AlphaTauri
on the
cars.
safety car. Right?
Well, he overtook him legit, but then he went off. It was like kind of the same thing that happened with Max and Lewis,
Gotcha.
where they went off track and he didn't give the position back,
Yes.
and they penalized him after the race, so he lost the position there.
So even the race director was picking up the scraps of what was happening. Oh, well, you did this. So penalty for you then.
So I was gonna go there. So anything else to wrap up the race, and I'm gonna lead with that. The race director, what the heck was he doing all race? To me,
Wellington was blowing.
I was so mad yesterday. There were so many. When Perez went off the track, he was within like 4/10 of whoever was ahead of him, and like I'm literally sitting there like, what is happening? And they were showing another battle where it was a much larger gap. What is happening?
But they were not showing the Perez one. And
then Perez starts dropping down the field. I'm like, yo, what? Like I was just.
There was a lot happening in the race, man.
Listen.
Yeah, but what we were seeing at that moment when he said that, there was nothing going on.
There was nothing going on. And I specifically was like, yo, what's happening with Perez? He's much closer. If I had a little more alcohol in me, I would have flipped the table. Because it was...
Thank God it was a morning race.
Listen, I don't have that job, but... Dude, if you get
just
paid
press
to
a button.
do it, yes.
Press a button.
Well, come
like
on.
Me. I'm sorry, like me earlier, just press a button.
Yeah, but you're doing okay. You're doing better than the race director did yesterday.
Gotcha.
Figure it out.
Let me give myself an applause.
Give the race director a
yeah. Anything else after my little rant there?
No, the thing that to mention about how unlucky was, obviously he's in a horrible car, but Schumacher was also caught out. Where at the end of the straight, pretty much the pit exit, he messes. I guess. Just a spin with a massive spin, and then he had to do like 2 laps with no front wing.
No front wing with a hose hanging out.
Because he closed the pit.
Didn't we talk about the race director, that we said that he did a good... No, he didn't. Kimi shouldn't have gotten that penalty. He was like right there. Like that was ridiculous. And then 2, the whole Schumacher thing. Just let him in.
Yeah,
he's like
why don't you just let him in?
He's like on crutches in that car. Like,
what is the penalty for going in? Stop and go? If he was to go in?
Know.
I think also...
We should as a race director.
There's so many things that happen. Also, the FIA with Vettel. Obviously, Vettel got a penalty because he didn't have the wheels on time 5 minutes before. They didn't assess that penalty until 22 laps into the race.
Come on.
So that killed Vettel's race. Obviously, he retired, but it still killed his race because he had to serve that penalty during the race when if they knew about it beforehand, they could have mitigated that. He wouldn't have lost so many.
I just don't get it, right? How we can have I'm a huge NFL fan. I'm a huge NFL fan. They throw the flag. They see guys moving at like faster than like you can even, and they make, for the most part, good calls, and they do it right away. And it's not like, 3 plays. Oh yeah, this kind of happened back here. Why can't we? We have all the technology in all the telemetry, all the cameras, all the onboards. Yo, just make the freaking calls.
But they can delete laptops.
I'm about to flip the table.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Anything
do
else,
it
boys?
afterwards.
No, just earlier when I said that if he was to go into the pits where the pit lane was closed, it's actually 10 seconds. That's what Hamilton got when he went in.
You called Michael Massey?
Yeah. We have
All right, so guys, as always, we are on multiple podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, 5 stars preferably. We are on Instagram and Twitter at JumpTheStartF1. Please say hi, follow us, hit a couple of likes, retweet a couple of our tweets there. Also on YouTube, hello.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. See you guys next week.
Portimao next, baby. We don't have to wait 3 weeks this time.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Portuguese Grand Prix. Let's go.
Let's do it.